Thank you for watching. Subscribe on Betrayed Man's Diary for more stories. Let me just preface this by saying I never imagined I'd be that guy. The one whose world comes crashing down in a single afternoon, whose entire family is now on the brink of implosion. But here we are. I'm 35. My wife, ex-wife-to-be probably, is 34. And my brother, the traitor in question, is 33. Let's call them Kate and Brian. I've been married to Kate for almost 10 years. We have a daughter together, 7 years old, and until a few weeks ago, I thought life was, well, not perfect, but decent. Comfortable. Steady. The discovery came in the most absurdly mundane way possible. It was a Sunday. I was doing what I always did, scrolling through my phone while sipping lukewarm coffee, trying to summon the will to start meal prepping for the week. Kate had just come back from a girls' trip to Vancouver. At least, that's what she told me. She said it was her and her college roommate Jessica catching up for a long weekend. The classic spa wine brunch nonsense. I was cool with it. I even encouraged her to go. Take time for yourself, I said. Recharge. That morning, I got a message from my cousin Sarah. Just a random ping, hey, isn't this your brother? Attached was a photo posted on Facebook. I clicked it. My blood went cold. It was Kate and Brian. In Vancouver. On a suspension bridge, Kate wearing the same sweater she had bought for the trip with Jessica. Brian had his hand on her lower back, and it wasn't casual. The caption read, "Best getaway with my favorite person." The air left my lungs. I stared at the screen. My brain refused to compute. My brother. My wife. Together. I messaged Sarah back something non-committal and sat there for what felt like an eternity. Then I did what I wish I hadn't. I started looking. Scrolling. Searching. I went into Kate's text backups on our shared tablet. Stupid, I know. But we'd set it up years ago to sync photos across devices. She never thought I'd check. There they were. Pictures. Selfies. Videos. Kate laughing in a hotel bed. Brian filming her in lingerie, whispering things that made my stomach churn. One message stood out like a gunshot. I wish I could just tell him. Being with you feels more like home than anything I've had with Mark in years. I'm Mark, by the way. The husband. The fool. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the edge of our bed while she snored lightly, oblivious to the chaos unraveling in my chest. At one point, I walked into our daughter's room. Just watched her sleep. Her little hand wrapped around a stuffed llama. My heart broke into 1,000 splinters. In the morning, Kate yawned and asked if we had coffee. Yeah, I said. There's coffee. And we need to talk. She looked up, and in that instant, before I even said a word, I saw it in her eyes. She knew. Mark, she started, and I held up the tablet. Don't. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I tossed the tablet on the counter. The screen lit up again with that goddamn bridge photo. I asked her one question. How long? She burst into tears. Tried to reach for me. Said it wasn't planned, that she never meant to hurt me, that it just happened. Apparently, it had been going on for 6 months. Started emotionally, as she put it. My brother had been going through a tough time. She was just being there for him. My hands shook. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stared at her like she was a stranger who'd broken into my life and stolen everything that mattered. Then I called Brian. He didn't pick up. Coward. Brian finally called back. I'd left a single voicemail. Just 3 words, we need to talk. He called an hour later, sounding like he'd just woken up. Hey, bro. Everything okay? I didn't respond right away. Just breathed. Brian, I said finally, I know. The pause on his end was longer than I expected. He didn't ask what I meant. He didn't pretend to be confused. That was all the confirmation I needed. You don't understand, he said, and I nearly dropped the phone. That phrase, so stupidly overused by cheaters, still made me want to put my fist through a wall. It's not what you think. Don't insult me. I told him what I'd seen. The photos. The messages. The videos. I didn't mention the one of them kissing in the airport lounge or the voice memo where Kate giggled about finally doing it somewhere with real sheets. He didn't deny it. He just kept repeating, I'm sorry, over and over like a damn chant. Then came the line that made my vision go red. I think I love her, man. I hung up. My next move? Telling my parents. They always loved Brian a little more. He was the charmer, the golden boy. Got away with everything growing up. When he totaled my dad's car at 17, they chalked it up to boys being boys. When he failed out of college, they blamed the professors. But this? I drove to my parents' house that afternoon. Kate begged me not to. Don't drag the whole family into this, she pleaded. We can handle it privately. No, not this time. I sat across from them at the kitchen table and laid it out. Every sordid detail. My mom gasped. My dad turned pale. At first, they didn't believe me. Brian wouldn't, he's your brother. But I showed them the photo. The messages. My mom cried. My dad just got quiet. What do you want to happen now? He asked finally. I shrugged. I want the truth out. No more pretending. I'm not going to let them lie to me and smile at Thanksgiving like nothing happened. Dad nodded slowly. You sure you want to blow this wide open? Yes, I said. And you should ask Brian if he thinks it was worth it. By that evening, the entire family knew. I didn't hold back. I sent a group message to my cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone we were close to. I won't be attending Thanksgiving this year. My wife and my brother have been having an affair. Just thought you all deserved to know. Silence. Then, trickles of support. My cousin Jen, what the hell? I'm so sorry. Uncle Dan, Jesus, man. That's unforgivable. Then, the kicker, Brian replied. Mark, I'm sorry you're hurting. But airing this publicly isn't going to help anyone. Please let's talk like adults. I left him on read. Kate stayed in the guest room that night. The days after the revelation were a blur. Kate cried a lot. Not that kind of gut-wrenching grief that makes you feel like someone regrets what they did, but the kind of crying people do when they're cornered and the walls are closing in. She didn't deny anything anymore. Didn't even try to spin it. I got close to him during the pandemic, she admitted one night, sitting on the floor of our bedroom while I packed a suitcase. You were working so much and he was around. That sentence stuck with me. He was around. As if being available at the right moment makes betrayal excusable. I didn't answer. Just sipped my suitcase and walked it downstairs. She followed me, begging me not to leave like this. Our daughter was asleep upstairs. That was the only reason I didn't slam the door so hard it rattled the walls. My parents tried to keep things calm. They invited me over for dinner without Brian the next day. Mom looked like she hadn't slept. Dad was quiet. You don't have to forgive him, my mom said gently, placing a hand on mine. But don't let this destroy you. I nodded, ate half a meal, then asked a question that had been burning in my brain for days. Did you ever suspect anything? They exchanged a look. That look told me everything I needed to know. I thought maybe something was off, my mom said finally. But I didn't want to believe it. Kate and Brian were always close. We figured it was just because they were in-laws. We didn't think. She couldn't finish. Dad poured himself another drink. He always wanted what you had, Mark. Even when you were kids. Later that week, Kate's parents called me. I nearly didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Her mom's voice trembled. Mark, we don't know what to say. We're horrified. You didn't deserve this. Her dad was blunt. She's not staying here. She's an adult. She needs to figure this out. We're supporting our granddaughter, not her choices. That night, Kate texted me from the guest room. My parents won't take me in. I think I really messed up. I didn't respond. Meanwhile, Brian started damage control. He texted me twice. He texted Kate every night. He messaged several family members, trying to spin it. It just happened. They were emotionally disconnected for years. Mark was never home. Classic cowardice. Blame the victim. Rewrite the narrative. But here's the thing, our family isn't stupid. Uncle Dan straight up told him to stay away from the next family barbecue. Cousin Jen blocked him. My dad, in a rare act of actual spying, told Brian to lay low until you learn what accountability means. Then came the worst part, telling my daughter. We sat her down together, though I wanted to do it alone. Kate insisted it be a united front. I nearly laughed at the audacity of her using that term. I kept it simple. Mommy and Daddy are going to be living apart for a while. There were some things that happened that weren't okay. She asked if we were mad at each other. Kate started crying again. I held it together for her. We're not mad at you, I said. We love you very much and nothing will change that. She nodded and hugged me. I think, in some way, she understood more than I thought. After she went to bed, I finally said what I'd been holding back. You don't get to cry in front of her like you're the victim. Kate just looked down. I packed another bag that night and left for a while. After I left the house that night, I went to stay with my friend Nathan. He and his wife offered me their guest room, no questions asked. Nathan's always been that guy, the one who knows when to shut up and when to pour you a drink. We sat on his back porch. He handed me a beer. Neither of us spoke for a solid 10 minutes. Then he broke the silence. So, your brother? I nodded. Yeah. Jesus. That's all he said. That's all he needed to say. There was something comforting in how he didn't try to fix it or philosophize it. He just sat in the mess with me. I didn't sleep much that night either. I just kept thinking about how Kate and Brian must have crossed that line. When? Where? Was it at my daughter's birthday party when they sat next to each other, smiling like they hadn't just committed high treason? Was it that weekend I went out of town for work? Every moment of our marriage started to feel like a lie retroactively. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Brian. I told Mom and Dad I'll stay away for a while. I'm not proud of what I did. I was weak. But Kate, she said she felt seen for the first time in years. I didn't plan this. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. You didn't plan it. But you enjoyed it. That was the last thing I said to him. Kate tried to call later that week. I didn't answer. Instead, I emailed her. We'll go through the custody process formally. I'll be filing for divorce. I'm done pretending anything can be salvaged. She wrote back 3 paragraphs. Apologies. Regrets. That old line, I didn't mean to hurt you. But she did. She meant to get what she wanted. I just wasn't supposed to find out. Here's the dilemma I wrestled with. Do I go scorched earth? Tell her employer? Out her to every last friend? Post the screenshots on Reddit? Make sure she knows what it feels like to be humiliated? Or do I keep it inside? Protect my daughter from more chaos. Avoid giving Brian the satisfaction of knowing he got to me that deeply. Nathan had an answer for me. Ask yourself one thing, he said. Do you want revenge or peace? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. I started therapy the following week. It was something I'd put off for years, assuming I could just muscle through everything like I always had. But sitting there, across from a calm voice who didn't know Kate or Brian or anyone else, I broke down. I feel like a fool, I said. You're not, the therapist replied. You were betrayed by the 2 people who should have protected your heart. She told me something that stuck with me. Betrayal isn't just about sex. It's about the decision to disregard your humanity for their comfort. Meanwhile, Kate was unraveling. Mutual friends told me she was devastated. That she hadn't gone back to work. That Brian wasn't answering her calls anymore either. Turns out once the fantasy blew up, reality set in. There were no candlelit nights now. No stolen weekends. Just consequences. She sent me one last text. I don't expect forgiveness. But I hope you find happiness. I didn't respond. The divorce process officially began 2 weeks later. I filed first. My lawyer was quick and sharp, and more importantly, she didn't flinch when I told her the situation. She looked me in the eye and said, we're going to protect your daughter and your assets. That's the priority. Custody was my biggest concern. Not revenge. Not money. Just my daughter. I didn't want to keep her from Kate, but I also didn't want my child being raised around a man who could stab his own brother in the back. We submitted for joint custody, but with a clause, no overnight visits from any third parties, especially family, during parenting time unless agreed upon. Kate objected. She had the nerve to ask the judge, can we just exclude Mark's brother from that clause? My lawyer nearly laughed. The judge didn't. It stayed in. Despite everything, Kate still wanted to play happy family for appearances. She asked if we could still go to school events together. I agreed for our daughter. The first was a piano recital. We sat 3 chairs apart. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. When our daughter played Claire de Lune, I felt tears sting my eyes. Not because of Kate. Not because of Brian. Just pride. That little girl was my whole world. Kate tried to talk to me after. I kept it short. I'm proud of her. And I'm here for her. That's all that matters. She nodded like she understood. But I could see it in her eyes, she still didn't fully grasp what she'd done. Not really. Brian, for his part, vanished. No more texts. No emails. Just gone. I heard through the family grapevine that he was rethinking his life, possibly moving out of state. My mom told me he hadn't come to Sunday dinner in weeks. Maybe he's ashamed, she said. Maybe. Or maybe he's just hiding from the mess he made. I stopped caring. One night, about a month into the divorce proceedings, I was home alone. The house was too quiet. My daughter was with Kate for the weekend. I pulled out the wedding album. Big mistake. There we were, Kate and I, smiling like idiots. Brian was in the background of half the photos, laughing, clapping, hugging Kate. My stomach twisted. I closed the album, shoved it in a box, and put it in the garage. That life was gone. I started building a new one. It was slow. Clunky. Awkward. I signed up for a co-parenting app to coordinate pickups and drop-offs. I started journaling. I saw my therapist weekly. Most importantly, I began relearning how to be me, not the husband, not the brother, not the fixer. Just Mark. I joined a hiking group. Took a weekend road trip alone for the first time in my life. Ate gas station sandwiches and listened to terrible 90s playlists. It wasn't healing, but it was something. One night, Nathan and I sat in his garage again. He cracked a beer and asked, "Do you ever miss her?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said I miss who I thought she was. That's the truth. It was a Thursday when I got the call from Laura, Brian's ex-wife. To be honest, I didn't even know she still had my number. We hadn't spoken since the day she walked out of my wedding reception 10 years ago saying she felt sick. Now I knew better. She wasn't sick. She'd just seen too much. "Hi, Mark," she said. Her voice was quiet but sharp. I just wanted to say, "I'm sorry. You didn't deserve this." I didn't know what to say at first. She filled the silence. "I warned you once. Years ago. Remember?" I did. Barely. A Facebook message long since deleted where she'd hinted that Brian was obsessed with Kate. I brushed it off at the time as a post-divorce emotional spiral. "I should have listened," I said. She sighed. "We both should have. But it's not your fault." Then she said something that I didn't expect. "Brian tried to contact me." "What?" I blinked. "A few weeks ago. Said he wanted to make amends. I told him if he wanted redemption he could start by writing a letter to you." "Not me." I almost laughed. Brian, the coward, probably thought she'd still sympathize with him. That she'd help smooth it over. Instead, Laura did something none of us had done before. She held him accountable. "Thanks for calling," I said. And I meant it. A week later, I got an email. Subject line, "I'm sorry." It was from Brian. I didn't want to read it. But I did. It was 5 paragraphs long. He admitted to everything, how it started, how long it went on, how he justified it in his head. He said Kate made him feel important and that he convinced himself that what they were doing was inevitable. He never asked for forgiveness. He just said he was sorry for being the kind of man who could do that to his own brother. I didn't reply. But I archived the email. Proof, at least, that he knew he'd ruined something he could never fix. Meanwhile, life moved on. The divorce finalized 2 months later. Joint custody was approved. Finances were split. I kept the house. She kept the SUV and her savings. Neither of us touched the retirement accounts. It was clean. Civil, almost too calm considering everything that had happened. We never fought in court. But we never looked each other in the eye again either. My daughter started adjusting. Kids are more resilient than we give them credit for. I kept things stable. Wrote down routines. Created rituals. Friday night was now Dad's pizza and movie night. We watched everything from Finding Nemo to The Matrix. She never asked why Mom and I didn't live together anymore. Not directly. But one night, halfway through Toy Story 3, she looked at me and asked, "Are you happy now?" I nearly choked on my soda. I smiled. Getting there. She nodded like that was enough. Around that time, I started writing again. It was something I hadn't done since college. Just reflections. Bits of thoughts. I wrote about betrayal, about family, about forgiveness and the lack thereof. Eventually, I posted one of those entries anonymously on a Reddit forum. The response was overwhelming. People messaged me from all over the world, some who'd been through worse, some who just wanted to say, "I believe you." One guy told me I saved him from making a terrible decision. Another said he hadn't spoken to his own brother in 10 years and now understood why that might have been a blessing. That's when it hit me. Maybe this mess, this disaster, wasn't just a hole in my life. Maybe it was a story someone else needed to hear. Spring came like a reset button. The trees outside my kitchen window began to blossom again, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel that invisible pressure on my chest every morning. I could breathe. Not all the way, not yet, but enough. I started renovating the house. Not for resale. For me. I repainted the guest room, the one Kate had cried in the night I confronted her, and turned it into a study. I bought a used desk from Facebook Marketplace, sanded it down, and set up a new workspace. Somewhere that felt like mine. I replaced the old mattress in the master bedroom. New sheets. New energy. I took down every framed photo of our wedding and stuffed them in a box I labeled Past Life. Taped it shut and shoved it in the attic. Even grief has a shelf life. Then, one Saturday morning, I met Maya. I wasn't looking. I was just trying to buy a tomato plant. It was one of those neighborhood farmers markets that sprout up in old parking lots. I was examining a tray of heirlooms when I bumped elbows with someone holding a tiny basil pot. "Sorry," I said, stepping back. She smiled. "No worries. I'm the one who elbowed you. These tomatoes are dangerous." I laughed. Actual laughter. Not the kind you force at work or with family to keep things light. Real, from the gut kind. She asked about the herbs. I told her I'd started a garden. Small stuff. Just enough to feel like I could grow something again. We talked for 15 minutes. I told her my name. She told me hers, Maya. Early 30s. Moved to the area after a divorce of her own. No one mentioned heartbreak. No need to. It hung in the air between us like a shared language. We exchanged numbers. No promises. Just, hey, if you ever need advice on tomatoes. 2 weeks later, she came over for coffee. That turned into lunch. Then dinner. Then sitting on the back porch, barefoot, listening to a storm roll in while my daughter slept upstairs. No expectations. Just presence. That's something I never realized I'd missed, someone simply being there without needing to control, correct, or consume you. Kate found out I was seeing someone. I don't know how. Maybe my daughter said something innocently. Maybe a mutual friend mentioned it. Either way, she texted me. I'm happy for you. Truly. I hope she's kind. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need her approval anymore. I was finally building something that didn't need her scaffolding. Brian stayed silent. Good. Maya never asked about Kate, not at first. Then one night, after a long conversation about her own divorce, she gently asked, "What happened with your marriage?" I told her the truth. The whole thing. She didn't flinch. She didn't offer platitudes or tell me I should forgive. She just nodded and said, "That must have been brutal." It was. But somehow, with her saying it, it felt survivable. I still have bad days. Days where the betrayal creeps back in through the cracks. Days where I wake up thinking about my daughter growing up knowing what her mother did. Days where I wonder if I'll ever truly trust again. But then there are mornings like today where I wake up, brew a cup of coffee, and hear Maya humming in the kitchen, and I remember. I survived the worst thing that ever happened to me. And I'm still here. It's been a year since that photo, the one that shattered my sense of family, marriage, and safety all in one pixelated punch. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if Sarah hadn't sent it. If I'd gone on another few months, maybe even years, believing my life was intact while it rotted underneath. But now, I'm glad it happened. Not because I enjoyed the pain. Not because I wanted to be divorced or estranged from my brother. But because it burned down everything that needed to die. Kate and I now coexist. Our daughter sees both of us and we don't fight in front of her. We use the co-parenting app like a business platform, short, direct, emotionless. She's dating someone new. Not Brian, thank God. Apparently, that collapsed within weeks of the fallout. No surprise there. Their entire bond was built on lies and secrecy. Once exposed to sunlight, it wilted. My parents still struggle with it. They love both of us. But they made a choice early on to support me. That meant something. It really did. As for Brian, he sent me a birthday card in April. Just said, "Thinking of you." No apology this time. No explanations. Just those 3 words. I threw it away. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Maya and I are still seeing each other. No labels. No pressure. Just something that feels honest. Real. We talk about everything. Even the ugly parts. One night, I told her that sometimes I feel like a failure, like I couldn't keep my family together. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "You didn't fail. You survived. There's a difference." I've learned a few things in this last year. 1. Betrayal doesn't define you. Yes, it leaves scars. Deep ones. But it doesn't make you less lovable or less worthy. It's just a chapter, not the whole damn book. 2. Family can fail you. Even blood. Especially blood. But the family you choose, the people who stand by you when everything burns, they're the ones who count. 3. Forgiveness isn't for everyone. I used to think I had to forgive Brian and Kate to move on. But I realized you don't have to forgive someone who's never truly sorry. You just have to decide not to carry their poison in your bloodstream anymore. Sometimes when my daughter's asleep and the house is quiet, I sit outside and watch the sky. It's peaceful now. Not perfect. Not healed entirely. But calm. And that's more than I ever thought I'd have again. So to anyone reading this, maybe you're in the thick of it right now. Maybe your world just cracked open. Let me tell you something. You'll survive. And on the other side, if you let yourself grow again, if you choose healing, even when it's hard, there's a version of life that's not only peaceful. It's yours. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our dramatic stories. See you in the next video.